Hey everybody, Roxabox90 here, back with day one, officially, of Dragons of Tarkir spoilers. We got a whole bunch of great stuff to talk about today, so I'm just going to hop right in with no more preamble. Let's start off with the Dragonlord. Oh yes, Silumgar is here. Apparently we have a cycle, and I'm just saying that because it kind of has to be. Mythic Dragon, which is interesting because the cons were mythic, and the dragons were rares. And now the dragons are mythic, so maybe the cons will be rares? I don't really know, but the dragons are mythic. Dragonlord Silumgar, 6/4/3/5 Flying Death Touch Elder Dragon. I guess being a dragon who rules everything for 1,000 years makes you an Elder Dragon. I mean, I don't know how that quite works, but okay. Flying Death Touch 3/5. Whenever it enters the battlefield, gain control of target creature or planeswalker for as long as you control Dragonlord Silumgar. Alright, pretty awesome. We've seen this kind of mechanic before. Kind of happy he's not just a mill dragon, to be honest. Taking control and being a very powerful body, of course, in limited makes him absolutely insane. He's also just pretty good in general for things like Commander and Cube. It'd be a question to see if he's powerful enough for Constructed, given that he's a fine body, sure, but 6 mana is definitely a lot. It'll be a real question if he lands and you steal something like an Elspeth or something else on the curve, then it seems that much more powerful. Definitely has potential, even though he's not quite the aggressive. He's kind of what Control wants. Not too powerful a body, just enough to make it worthwhile while also having an awesome ability. Dragon Tempest, gorgeous artwork. 2 for an enchantment. Whenever a creature with flying enters the battlefield under your control, it gains haste. Okay, so all your dragons and all your flyers gain haste for 2 mana. Enchantment, that's awesome. Whenever a dragon enters the battlefield under your control, it deals X damage to our creature or player, where X is the number of dragons you control. Okay, so this pretty much encourages Dragon Tribal. All dragon playing EDH players rejoice! Dragon Tribal is suddenly absolutely bonkers with this card. But it's also, I think, a card that could push dragons to be viable even as far as Constructed Standard, because if you look at the sheer power of this card, if you're landing it early on, yeah, it's questionable if it's worth taking up a slot for a ramper in a deck where dragons would be the primary focus. It may be, especially if you have a more aggressive style deck with like Callaghan being a Mardu curve topper. This card could be super powerful for that kind of build. It'd be interesting to see, especially if we get some cheaper dragons that are playable. Profound Journey is 7 for a sorcery. Return target permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield with rebound. Alright, this seems pretty good, especially because they've been doing this where they try to make it more open and inclusive. Some of these abilities that we're used to seeing, where it's just artifact, creature, enchantment kind of things, this allows you to do permanent, which pretty much means unless you get planeswalkers, which means, along with its gorgeous artwork, that it's a very flexible card. Of course, Commander All-Star right off the bat, even though it is expensive, getting 2 permanents back for 7 is definitely reasonable. Definitely reasonable indeed. And is it powerful enough outside of that? I don't know, but being able to get back Planeswalkers as an option is definitely very, very flexible, and kind of is a nice topper for end game in limited, maybe as a one-of course, because when your opponent, if they can deal with your stuff, you get 2 permanents rather back for 7. It seems decent in limited and really strong in Commander. Sidisi Undead Vizier, 5 for a 4/6 Death Touch Zombie Naga. Oh yes, this is awesome because he has Exploit, a new mechanic. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice a creature, and if you do sacrifice a creature when he comes into play, then you may search your library card for a card put in your hand shelf of your library. So let's get this straight. 5 for a 4/6 Death Touch Zombie that allows you to sack a creature to Demonic Tutor. That seems broken for a lot of reasons. If you take off all his abilities, but Death Touch, 5 for a 4/6 Death Touch is great right off the bat. So limited, he's absolutely insane, especially because he lets you go search up your next biggest thing that you have in your deck, and then you can play it the next turn just by sacrificing a little chumpy guy early on. Seems really powerful. In terms of Commander, I can see this card because it's whenever this creature enters the battlefield, it doesn't say from your hand, so it gives you constant card advantage and tutoring abilities. It should be easy enough to work some kind of mini sack outlet with this kind of card. I'm sure in Commander he'll be incredible. I'm a big fan. I really like it. Stratus Dancer, 2 for a 2/1 flying with Megamorph, another mechanic. that you can cast this card face down, morph it, and if you turn it face up, it gets a 1/1 counter in addition to its whatever happens. In this case, it counters an instant or sorcery, which is really, really good because it means if you morph it up, it's 3 and then 2 to flip up, and you get a 3/2 flyer that counters instant sorcery spell. That seems really good. It just, yeah, it's awesome. Good artwork too. Sandcrafter Mage, more awesome art. 3 for a 2/2. When it comes into play, bolster 1. If it's by itself, that means it's 3/3. And if it's not by itself, it works really well with Abzan. Really solid common. Ujutai Summons, 5 for a 2/2. 5 for you get a 2/2 token with flying with rebound. So 5 for 2 2/2s with flying. Seems pretty good, especially if you have Abzan and bolster and that kind of stuff going on in limited. Very, very solid card. Silumgar Butcher, 5 for 3/3 exploit. Zombie, whenever it exploits, target creature gets -3/-3. This is basically Ulcerate pasted onto a 3/3 for 5. Is it worth it? It's kind of worth it. I mean, it acts as a form of flexible removal in limited. That's usually good enough to see play. Sprinting Warbrute is 5 for a 5/4 and attacks each turn if able with dash. This card's kind of a curve topper, lets you play it for 4 if you need to, or 5 if you need a creature. Its stats are fine. It's a solid common, decent. Airy Bowmasters, 4 for a 3/4 reach. Normal, regular, but Megamorph lets you get a 4/5 reach for 6. A little bit expensive, but definitely not a bad card. It's probably the worst of the lot here. Stampeding Elk Herd, 5 for a 5/5 formidable. Another mechanic, whenever it attacks, if creatures you control have a total power 8 or greater, in other words, double ferocious, creatures you control gain trample. It's kind of a win more card. I mean, 5 for a 5/5 is fine for limited right off the bat, and then being able to, if you have a lot of stuff, give them all trample. Definitely a way to push the game through. So those are the main cards. We also have I don't remember where I put them. Here we go, the booster packaging. So we get to see some killer dragon designs. I'm really looking forward to seeing, especially if these are mythic. It's going to be really cool to see the variants. Then we also have what looks to be some kind of Sarkin, maybe another Sarkin, maybe a Sarkin as a legendary. Who knows? We'll have to see. This is probably Narset as a planeswalker. Who knows? Probably though. Seems like a really cool option. We'll have to see if that's the case. And the artwork is great, gorgeous, beautiful, very well designed as usual. Then we also have another spoiler coming in. Thunderbreak Regent is 4 for a 4/4 fly. Whenever a dragon you control becomes a target of spell or ability your opponent controls, it deals 3 damage to that player. So with Sarkin and Stormbright Dragon in standard, and this guy at 4 mana as a flexible curve guy, seems really strong. Yeah, he doesn't have haste, but he makes your opponent's spot removal effectively become lightning bolts to the face. That seems really powerful for stats. Definitely a constructed viable dragon with gorgeous artwork. And last up, just a little announcement, nothing to do with dragons, but Tempest Remastered has been announced, and it actually was announced a little bit ago, but I missed it. It's basically Magic Online only because there are reserved list cards in the set, but they will have Tempest being hosted for sale for a certain amount of time. Seems pretty cool. I kind of hope they do this in the future, maybe as an alternative to Modern Masters, and it'd be interesting if they make maybe a compilation kind of set. It'd be interesting, or like a Tempest block remastered, or some kind of block that's maybe a little bit later that doesn't have reserved list issue. So anyway, lots of cool stuff. I'd love to hear what you guys think about all these amazing spoilers. Put it down below in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video, tap the like button. And if you're new to the channel, check in and subscribe. I'll keep these spoilers coming to you all spoiler season. And as always, Rocks a Box 90 signing out. I'll see you guys next time.